Hello, folks. This is Jeff Dunezt. Today is Thursday, and I'm always on the Schaftlein Report on Thursday. You remember last week I could hardly talk, and Mark felt sad for me because I couldn't talk. So he's letting me host the show this week. Now, if you've heard me 1,000 times to talk about my background in marketing and how I love talking about politics, and to make me really work, Mark found somebody who is much better at marketing than I am and knows just as much about politics. So my guest today is Joe Visconti. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
Thanks
Joe
for
Visconti. I can see you're not Italian.
Visconti.
Visconti, like the
You
movie
know,
director.
I haven't seen The Godfather in a long time, so I'm not really good at the accent. I still can say mozzarella, but pronouncing Italian names, I'm sorry.
Or people pronounce, they say, I want some veal parmigiani or gnocchis. Gnocchis, gnocchi gnocchis.
Well, the problem is I keep kosher, so I can't have veal parmigiani.
There you go. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great. Now,
I hear you were in the hospital. What happened? Let's talk about you for a minute. What's going on?
Well, actually, I took the wrong medication by accident, and they took me to the hospital so I wouldn't have a bad reaction. And the worst part of it is, besides the fact that the guy next to me all night was talking and answering himself, but to get out on 2 days later, I had to prove to them that I wasn't trying to kill myself. So I just said, hey, I'm a Mets fan. They're having a great year. Why would I want to kill myself?
You're good now? You're good now.
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, I still got my back problems. I'm going to the orthopedic on Monday. And it's actually not my back, but my lower back. So I'm just assuming that he's just going to say, I'm a bad a-hole.
Right.
How you doing, Joe? What are you up to?
Pretty good. Well, beautiful here in Northeast West Hartford, Connecticut. Nice weather. Summer's finally nice. We had heat waves and sticky stuff, and it was pretty crazy here for about 10 days. And we had a primary in Connecticut, and I worked on Leora Levy's campaign for U.S. Senate against Richard Blumenthal, and she won the primary with the help of President Trump, who endorsed her. He also did a robocall for her, and an after-win party, he showed up on screen. So it was a heck of a last.
Isn't that Senator Stolen Valor?
Yes, that's exactly. We call him Skeletor over here. It's got a nickname for 20 years in Connecticut. We've been fighting this guy. But that was the fun part of the political process. We took out the Connecticut Republican Party, which is, God bless them, just rhinos. And the funny thing, we'll talk real quick about this because this is such a hot topic in blue states. Connecticut has no Republicans for federal offices. We got Larson, Himes, Delora, Courtney, all that. We have no U.S. senators. We got Murphy and Blumenthal. We have no governor, no lieutenant governor, no secretary of state, no AG, no comptroller, nothing or no majority in the House and the Senate at the Capitol. We have nothing. And we have sold our principles out year after year, fighting the rhinos, and they go along with the Dems, and we have nothing. I say, and Leora's win says, we could lose everything, but stand for who we are with our national brand and stand proudly on the issues and still have no power. Why should we? This was really a litmus test for all of Connecticut, and also a lot of blue states that have this ideology or psychology that they have to bend on certain issues and all that. So that's really what happened.
I know how you feel because I live in New York. So I have Senator, I don't care about the country, only about politics, Schumer. And my other senator couldn't spell cat if you spot her the C and the A. Now, the guy running for governor on the Republican Party is someone who my daughter did phone banks for when he's running for Congress, Lee Zeldin. And I think he's a true conservative, and I really hope,
Well, New York could do it. I think you could actually turn. We may be able to turn Connecticut too. If not, we're going to get very close. But the big thing is, I've always said it. I'll say Pepsi instead of Coke this time. You don't sell Pepsi and its formula Texas with one formula, Chicago with another formula, New York with another. You sell Pepsi. No brand would do what politics do in these blue states, trying to what? Maybe inch out a win? No. Republicans run for their business interest. They want to either sell insurance or whatever, and they don't want to tackle the hard issues against the Democrats or their
one of the
business.
things I'm telling people is with all those boxes they took out of Trump's Mar-a-Lago, they also had both the Coke recipe and Colonel Sanders' fried chicken recipe. That was the bad part.
It's true. But the fact is, it doesn't matter if you're Dem or Republican or whatever. Are you going to represent what your party platform is and or not? Or you're going to decide to make it up as you go. And then you have enough of those in the blue states, they start keeping what they call radical conservatives off the ticket. And before you know it, you lose race after race, year after year. I've been doing it 20 years, decade after decade of losses, never standing for what your party is and what you believe, and chasing away true conservatives that want to, if they lost, at least they'd line up with the brand. So this kind of got stopped when Leora took out for U.S. Senate the 22 years state representative who was at the Capitol, voted for the gun grabbers, is pro-choice, real radical. And that was the end of what's what Trump's doing nationally. It was the end in Connecticut of that. Great turnout across the board. So it's important for people to realize that if you don't want to sell, if you want to sell something, sell a brand, you got to sell the merits of the brand and not run away from your own product. How are you going to make a sale?
Well, my contention is the pro-choice people aren't really pro-choice, because if they were pro-choice, they would give the fetus a choice if they wanted to die.
Right. Well, another issue, but that's being kicked down to the states. And I think that every state that decides to do that or want to do that, if there was such a thing as a sin for terminating a human life with God's created plan for them, then the sin is on the state. It's not on the whole nation.
And the other thing is, I read the Bill of Rights. That 10th Amendment says that if it's not in the Constitution, it's the state's call.
Correct.
And I went through the Constitution. I didn't see anything about that.
Well, they were using that 14th Amendment, which is another thing they're eroding with the privacy of client-attorney privilege. They're eroding that. And they used, it's just, it's up for grabs. Let's talk about Mar-a-Lago and what's going on, because that's we got two things that are probably world-shattering if they occur between the lawsuit in New York, where Trump's CFO for 45 years just flipped 15 felonies, and he's going to Rikers for 100 days, and he's going to testify against Trump Inc. in October, and Mar-a-Lago raid, and what all that may mean if they do what they want to do, which is put him in leg irons.
I have my news on to see if the judge rules on the.
Yeah. Let me know if that pops, because what they want to do is perp walk him. That means walk with leg irons and handcuffs, like they did Roger Stone and Manafort, and then take those photos, take them, put them in videos so people can run against them. All the endorsed Trump people, and say, look at Susie, whatever, Donahue is running in Ohio, and Trump endorsed her, and they put a picture of him in leg irons. You can't vote for Susie. That's what they want to do. They need the photo op, whatever happens. But how's he going to get a fair trial or even grand jury in Washington, D.C.? If you didn't know, folks, like 96% Democrats in that area, and he'll never get a fair trial.
And the thing is, they're trying to stop Trump from running. And what that's doing is trying to take away our choice for who we want to vote.
Yeah.
And they don't trust us.
Yeah, Dershowitz was good the other night. I forgot what show he was on, and said he can be in prison and run. They can't stop him from running. They can indict him. They can do whatever. There's no prerequisite in the Constitution that would limit Trump from running, no matter what they do. But they're seeking.
Judge rules portion of an affidavit that was the basis for the Mar-a-Lago raid should be released.
Yes, I figured they would redact it. They have to. They're in bad shape. Let's talk about that now. The trust in government. Beyond Mar-a-Lago, what about trust in government? What's going on here? FBI,
don't you think it's really scary? I mean, I don't trust anyone, no matter whether they're Democrat, Republican, they're conservative or liberal. There's something about government, how it changed.
Yeah, and that's the most dangerous times we're living in when people have the more faith. The criminals are being let out of jail, preying upon us. They want to defund fund the police, open the borders to terrorism, as they've already found some the other day, and who knows who got in that they didn't find. Fentanyl, everything. Our country's wide open. The Democrats, I'm sorry, have and the Republicans aren't fighting this really loud as they should. They're orchestrating the destruction of our country. Rome is falling right in front of us intentionally.
More importantly, they're killing kids. This
Trafficking.
fentanyl, it kills children. I mean, you only need this much to die from it. And they have a new kind. It's rainbow fentanyl. It's like a new Dunkin' Donuts flavor.
And there's nothing. Americans feel helpless because there's nothing that you can do to do what everyone knows is common sense. Forget about politics. Common sense. Who would not seal the border? Make sure you put whatever you got resources on that border. Fence, barbed wire, I don't care what you do. Line up a soldier every 3 feet. Whatever you got to do. There's a war going on down there, and they're importing and flying it into Westchester County, where you are, close to you. They're all in New Haven, where I live in Connecticut. They're just bringing them in, and the regular people are okay, even though I don't like it. But we don't know what else is coming through. Sleeper cells, everything, and millions upon millions. It's just one aspect.
And they keep saying Republicans don't have any ideas to fix it. I have one idea. Go back to the way Trump was doing it, because that was working.
They can't do it. They have a problem with it. Isn't Trump. It could have been. It was W. Bush had the same problem. No matter what, Romney got beat up, McCain got beat. They always beat you like
Romney deserved it.
Like you owe them rent, these Democrats, no matter what. So Trump just happens to be a guy who won, and so there's just going to do this all the time, and there's no limits to it. So we've now weaponized our intelligence agencies, and if this Peter Strzok really is a CIA operative working through, as they've been reporting, the FBI, which is illegal for the CIA to operate in our country, with everything he did, because he never went to the military academy, he never went to training for FBI. There's an article on the Guardian. It's bad. What does that mean?
Our institutions, the IRS. You know, they're only hiring 80,000 more. I have friends who led 2 organizations that weren't allowed to get their status during the Obama administration because they didn't like what they were talking about.
It's bad, Jeff. It's bad. And for everyone listening out there, it's bad. And you know that the next move, the only move they can make right now is if they redact some of this, they need to bring the temperature down. And there's no way that we're going to trust whatever's on that affidavit, no matter what, because the public realizes.
Like you said before, this is the greatest country in the world. We can't let them get away with it. And I'm not talking violence. Violence is stupid.
Never. No violence.
But I'm talking about writing letters, calling a congressman, protests. But we don't do that. And really, the only time I can think of us doing that was January 6th, which was not an insurrection. You know, what was going on that summer before with the George Floyd protests where they were burning down buildings, that was an insurrection. January 6th was a protest, and yes, it became a riot. But it was no stupid insurrection.
Well, the real reason I believe, beyond the BS we're going to find out about in the affidavit, is it gets down to really in your face. And I'll just say, I was on January 6th, but I'm not talking for me here because I would never do violence, and I never have in 20 years in politics. Rallies, gun rallies across Connecticut, done it all. I was that guy that was always there, always legal. We even worked with the Secret Service when Obama came and Nancy Pelosi came to make sure we knew who was in our rallies protesting, so we didn't get infiltrated by crazies. Worked with them all. And the FBI knows that here in Connecticut, and Secret Service, because I've always done that. But what happened was, it's like a cliche. I made a meme up of it. I put a state capitol up, and I said, and then I showed Mar-a-Lago, and it says, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They raided this house because I didn't want to use Weeby because people raided the Capitol. They raided his Mar-a-Lago because they want to consider that he had people raid the U.S. Capitol. You got to understand what that really was. It was like Jesus in the temple chasing out the money changers. I mean, they ran. I was there watching what was going on. It was horrible.
Wait, you were there
But
January 6th, or when you were there when Jesus raided the temple
yeah,
and threw the
both
money?
in my mind, in my imagination. But the thing is, they left. Nobody want. I didn't want any of this, but they had to leave the building, and so there's another thing that the left is angry about, and this is why you see Stephen Colbert kind of breaking the law with his people in the Capitol about a month ago, and AOC getting fake arrested, or she got arrested pretending to be handcuffed. They're upset and angry. The left is that they burnt down and looted Macy's in 2020, and the right overthrew the United States government. In their mind, they want to be criminal, and they're angry because they look like a bunch of fools that raided and looted, when in their mind they would have rather broken the law and look like the founding fathers. So they love and
You don't
embrace what
think
they.
that the AOC's problem was she's still afraid of the garbage disposal?
But you saw him get arrested to break the law. Why would you do that? Why would Colbert's people do that? Because they are ashamed of backing people looting in 2020, and they want to be real. It is envy. It's political envy, pure and simple. Not that I agree with it. Any looting, any burning, any going in the Capitol, none of that stuff. But that's, in my mind, the projection of what is going on with the left and the liberals. And they talk a big talk. They talk a big talk, but all they could do is loot Macy's.
And they didn't even get anything good from there. But the thing is, that's the difference between them and most conservatives. We throw out people who are crazy. We don't let them come to our rallies. I've done like 10 rallies at the UN for pro-Israel reasons.
You know what I'm talking about. You make sure there's nobody in your group that's going to like do crazy stuff.
And if they do crazy stuff we think they're going to do, we say, get the hell out of here.
Yeah. You call it. That's what we've done that for years. So it was, and I was in two rallies in Washington for Trump, and one in Atlanta before January 6th. All peaceful. Talk to the National Guard, the cops. Done it for years. Rallies, protests, never. So no one ever expected that to happen. But that's all they got, and they need to keep milling that. So if they're trying to get him either Mar-a-Lago on nuclear secrets, which is BS, or get him on January 6th for treason, or get him at the New York with the business crime lawsuits and tax fraud, or get him in Georgia for him and Giuliani, whatever they think. So they got these four things going on right now. They're hoping one of them sticks.
I reread this morning the articles about Georgia.
I didn't catch it this morning.
All the things that the Washington Post originally said was in that conversation. A week later, everyone said, no, that's a lie. But that's not what they're doing now. They're saying, well, he tried to get them to change the election. He tried to do, and he did try to get them to relook at stuff, but he never said, you better change the results.
Right. And of course, it's all lies.
The thing about Georgia is when they said they're going to release the Kraken. And all my friends who ran Italian restaurants and thought they were going to have a lifetime supply of calamari were upset.
Anyway, those are the four things that are time bombs that they're trying to put off. And an indictment by grand juries in heavily Democrat districts won't withstand an appeal to the Supreme Court, which that's where it ends up. But there's no way that I believe they don't shackle his. And I think if they do it before September 1st. I don't believe they're going to be foolish enough to do it after Labor Day or on September 2nd or something. So I think they got to make a move right now if they're going to make a move. The October criminal case will go past the election. That's never going to be settled in New York. Georgia thing that'll waffle out. They're just looking for this collective lawsuits to make him look like a criminal. And hopefully that sticks, but they don't know that the public doesn't care. The public sees through. They watched going through 3.5 years of phony impeachments of Russia collusion. Everyone's up to here. They wanted some meat. Where's the beef? There was no beef. And now everything they put out, it's like, no, we don't believe you. And even if you're a Democrat.
People don't understand the venom they have for something that happened years ago. I mean, it's over. Let's talk about inflation. Let's talk about getting gas prices down, putting food on our table. That's what, I think the reason why Liz Cheney lost was not just because she had a fight with Trump, but when she was on campaign, all she talked about was Trump. Her opponent, all she talked about is the best thing for Wyoming.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen now, as you know, September will be here in another 20 days, 18 days. People are going to be buying oil for the house heating oil. People are going to be paying a higher electricity rates and oil and gas for their car. There's going to be tens of millions of Americans. Credit cards already maxed out. Aren't going to have Christmas, Kwanzaa, or your religion there,
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. That's not going to happen. 8 days of presents. It's over. People can't afford it. The food, everything. Yeah. So how many?
I said tiny presents.
Tiny presents. I live in a Jewish community in West Hartford, Connecticut. I was raised here. We moved here as a kid into high school. I said, Mom, everybody's Jewish. Everybody's Jewish. I said, it's like Tel Aviv over here in West Hartford in the 70s.
Well, I have to tell you something. I learned all the Yiddish I know in high school from an Irish Catholic named Tommy Gold. God's honest truth.
But anyway, a lot of tens of millions aren't going to be celebrating. There's no Christmas. There's no Hanukkah. There's no holiday. And they don't know how they're going to pay utility bills in January and February and March. Because Farmer's Almanac is talking about a bad winter.
Yep. And that winter, bad winter is going to make heating our houses bad. And even this stuff they put in that that falsely named Inflation Reduction Act. Do you know that there's a $7,500 rebate if you have the money to buy an electric car?
Yeah, you're right.
Those car manufacturers have raised their prices by more than $7,500. So in the end, you're screwed.
I call it the Inflation Production Act because that's what it is. Production. That's them. Name it what it's not. Obamacare, affordable health care. It wasn't affordable. Remember what you paid for insurance before Obamacare? Now what do you pay? Double,
and
triple.
They don't measure that because before it kicked in, insurance companies were starting to raise their rates.
It's just everything, utility costs. So you've got this inflation. People using Venmo, they're doing side hustles. Now they're going to have 87,000 IRS checking your Venmo account, your Cash Apps to see where you've been moving money. And they'll do it through algorithms, AI, and a host of stuff. And so
it's like Facebook?
Yeah. And Facebook, Facebook's got a way to pay too. You can buy something through Facebook. So whether people did something illegal or not, there's that meme out there that shows a car like OJ on the highway, and the guy says, "I got $600 on my Venmo account." Behind him is just 20 cruisers, and it says IRS agents chasing him on the highway.
And the fact that I know they took it down, but the original job qualification said they have to be comfortable using a gun.
Yeah. 80 million rounds of bullets or something like that. It's like people say, well, no, we're not. What do you need that stuff for? And it's just now they need to prey on people. So they dox us, they cancel us, they lock us down, they fire us, they intimidate us. And now this.
That's what liberalism is all about. Controlling our lives because we don't know how to.
Right. Every aspect of our life. And that isn't going away. That is getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So we'll look out for the next 2 weeks. We're on a high alert for something they may do to Trump. What will that mean? Of course, his numbers will go up and his fundraising will go up because of it. But people are more and more they were outraged when they did that. And they're going to be outraged when they see him in shackles because I don't believe they won't. I think they need the photo op. And they do. And I think I don't want to. I pray against this like January 6th. I pray to God the guns don't come out. I pray to God. They're already circling Mar-a-Lago with cars and guns, and that's Florida. That's not going to be good. You're looking at snipers and all kinds of crazy people doing whatever, getting triggered with the heat and the cost of living. People are going to lose their minds, and they're going to think they're coming next. We got to pray against that. We got to pray Jehovah, pray Jesus. I don't know. Pray that this doesn't happen.
This violence is stupid. When you pray.
Yeah. Well, that's what they're doing. They're looking to trigger. They're intentionally realizing by the heat they just measured, the FBI, that this is not good. So if you make another move I'm talking bona fide, really bona fide. I don't know what I got going on here. I got a phone ringing or something. I thought I shut my phone off. Is that mine or yours or
No,
who the
mine
hell?
is shut off.
I don't know. I shut it off, but it's something's coming through my computer. Anyway,
Well, the other
that's the
interesting thing
big
is
thing to watch.
people
Let's
argue
move
with
on to some
me.
other stuff.
People argue with me every time I say the liberals are trying to are the smallest things about our lives. I used to be able to read on the toilet, but they changed the light that you can't really read. And talking of the toilets, they changed the toilets so it doesn't really flush. They ruined my life.
Jeff, where did Mark find you?
I was
What's
living in a box in front of a subway station, and that was in Texas because I wanted to get into the country again. So I went across the Rio Grande. I can swim, you know.
So anyway, I think that's the biggie. If whatever they do, we'll know in a couple of weeks. If they do it, if they don't do it, if they step back, it's going to change the atmosphere on a lot of things. But let's go on to some of your other topics. You had a bunch. We were emailing back and forth. I lost track. Where are we going next?
My big thing is the CDC finally said, "Ooh, we screwed up the way we handled COVID." Like like Homer Simpson would say, "Doe," because we all knew that, and they admonished us when they said they were doing it wrong. They didn't know if masks work when they were saying you got to wear a mask.
Well,
Okay.
they did it first. I think the N95s, I know that from construction, N95s are better than most, but that's still not going to completely protect you. But it was behavior modification because there was no way to know if anything else happened. Without a mask, what would we know or think? We wouldn't fear. Put on a mask, do something. You can't just walk in a store. So they needed that as a trigger mechanism.
Well, but like I say, Fauci got COVID twice. He sleeps with his mask, and he's had all 4 shots. So tell me that what they said works. And they started by saying that the vaccine would make it that you don't get COVID. Then it went to, oh, you won't get it so bad. You know, I had the vaccine.
This is the question. How do you know you won't get it so bad? 4 comorbidities usually die, but how could you prove that you won't get it so bad? Because the people that did die, shots or no shots, were dying with 4 comorbidities. And the data has been skewed. We
And
don't see
until
it.
COVID left the governorship.
It won't release the data. So what can we trust when the data is all skewed, buried, hidden? Nobody can look at data anymore. They've hidden the data. It's all taken away from us, and we're not able to look at it scientifically. And they ask us to trust them. That's what their problem is. CDC, FBI, IRS, Homeland Security, you go EPA, you go right down the line. Who do you remember EPA, the river? They dropped all that stuff in the river a couple of years ago out in Denver or something. Who can you trust? How can you trust
Well,
government? And that's
I
not
gotta tell
good.
you, a couple of months ago, I passed 65, and I was so happy that Cuomo wasn't the governor anymore because he'd send me to a place to catch COVID and die. It's as simple as that. Although I was in the hospital 2 weeks ago and I came home, I had COVID.
Caught it there, huh?
Well, yeah, and then the rest of my family caught it, and I'm the only one that refuses to wear a mask because I get
Yeah.
sick from it.
Well, that's the other thing. I know that from construction, when we've ever done work in buildings, insulation work, whatever, if you don't have an oxygen supplying, you can't work all day with dust protectors on. You just can't without oxygen, N95 or whatnot. I mean, I have the ones that paint my boat that have. It's even worse because you're not getting air in, and
That's
it's
the
not good
reason
for
I
the
don't
lungs.
fly.
It's not good for the lungs, and they knew that too, but they've turned it into such a political tool to get out the vote by mail and change the voting laws illegally and all that it served so many purposes. This Rahm Emanuel never let a emergency go to waste, that they just did everything we all know they did to us.
Yep.
There's no truth in government. We don't trust it. How are we going to get trust back, Jeff? I'm asking you. Ask me how with these institutions we need.
We force it. As a people, we force it. We tell them when they're full of crap, and we push it and we get the word out. That's the only thing we could do.
But we still can't see inside the mechanisms and the workings of the Strzok page
We don't
and all
have
the
to. Even like the conservative politicians who get elected and don't do anything conservative. We got to call them on it. And we got to keep on calling them on it.
Well, that's what happened here in Connecticut. I was telling you, we had conservative guys for 15 years. I've known of the Tea Party. They got elected state senate, state rep. It's been 10 years. They've been inside, and they went against this woman and went with the establishment person who's a rhino. And they're supposed to be Tea Party, Trump, all that, and they sold us out. So,
well, but you got to understand. You have a Democratic senator who served in Vietnam in combat.
Yeah,
so.
Right.
Yeah. Good old Senator Stolen Valor.
Yep. And he's also spoke, you may not know this, he spoke at the Communist Party Gala Awards about 4 months ago. That made the news. Google Communist Party and Dick Blumenthal, and you'll see the articles pop up. He said he didn't know he was going there to speak at the Communist Party. He's a media whore. He's always in front of cameras. And I believe he probably didn't know because he's getting old too. But he spoke at the Communist Party. A communist sympathizer and a valor.
I live in the second most Jewish district in America. My congressman went and spoke and gave money to CARE, okay, which is not only a pro-Arab group, but it's an anti-Semitic group. If it was just pro-Arab, who would care? But he doesn't care. The only good thing is he's running for governor, and he's going to lose, so he'll be out of office.
It's who would vote against their own interests. But and here's the thing, other thing. Those on the right that are really Americans, they shouldn't be called on the right. But everybody wants everybody to have their rights. You want transgender people to have the rights of children.
Absolutely.
You don't want anybody not, but we don't want our rights. There is a medium where you can have our rights without removing somebody else's rights, without grooming children at a young age to adopt transgender or beta blockers or whatever, puberty blockers. We don't need that introduced at that age. That doesn't mean they can't exist, but by forcing everybody into your ideology, calling if you're a white Christian, I'm not a Jew, but a white Christian,
Jews too,
you're a hater. Huh? Straight white Christian, I'm a hater? Why? Because I'm white, I'm straight, and I'm male? Well, I don't get it. And so this is where
I heard in the background, there was a news report of a school district that took the Bible out of their library because there was too much sex in it. It's the freaking Bible. I mean, how could you take that out of the? Tell me a book that more copies have been distributed of than the Bible.
I got another topic we talked about on our email. This is important too. It has to do with what everybody knows it at home. CNN has got Hayden. That's the former CIA director. Clapper, Strzok. These are all people that speak on CNN, and they're all former CIA, FBI, Director of National Intelligence. This is what they have on their station.
CNN came out with great news.
CNN and New York Times are actually extensions of the FBI and the CIA. At what point should we
came out with great news just before we started? Humpty Dumpty was fired.
Who?
Humpty Dumpty, Brian Stelter.
When?
I'm telling you, it popped up just before we got on the air.
Oh, my God. Well, Humpty Dumpty is nothing, but think about this. Think about, we have these former officials that still have, this is important to listen to at home, still have security clearance at the highest levels. Then you get a leak from the New York Times that says sources close to the issue who can't speak on it said this to the New York Times or to CNN. Well, who do you think those sources are? The CIA old heads with all their inside people that are still in the CIA and the FBI that make a phone call and tell them they have security clearance so they can hear it. And then these guys like Hayden and Strzok and what the heck's his name? The guy I really can't stand, Clapper. Oh my God, he lied to Congress. And these guys are on CNN delivering the news.
And when he talks, don't you expect your lights to go on and off?
Yeah. No, the thing is, we don't have. Yeah, we don't have intelligence agencies and news organizations that aren't the same. They are the same.
All committed perjury. And you look what they tried to do to, half the people who were on the Trump administration. And those guys all committed perjury and they did nothing.
Nothing. And I got this thing I invented a couple of weeks ago. I didn't talk to Mark's show on it. I'll talk to you on it. I've been putting on all the shows I'm on. This old thing that people don't want to believe in God or destiny. And if you're born, you don't really have a destiny. Some people like Jimmy Stewart's A Wonderful Life. There's a meaning for your life. Well, on the street, that's called what goes around comes around. And it's called karma, cause and effect at the street level. Well, what's going around for the Democrats doesn't come around. It comes around on top of the Republicans. What the Republicans put out, whatever good thing they do, any goodness get the Democrats get. Goes around, comes around, don't happen anymore. Double standards, two-tier justice system. Everybody knows it's not fair. It's a rigged game where the referees paid off to look the other way. Americans don't like that. Basically, on the street, they don't like that.
And last week, Merrick Garland said, don't complain about the FBI and the Justice Department. The day after they leaked that Trump had nuclear documents. Do they really think we're idiots?
Yeah, they do. They've overplayed their hand because I think they believe that. I've been on TikTok for a couple of months just watching, and if you hit something on TikTok, if anybody listening or watching hasn't used it before, I have an account, but I don't follow anyone. But if you hit something and watch it, the next one will come up, and you get more of the feed off of what you're clicking. And so I've been watching African Americans more than anything just keep coming up angry, smart. They're like mavens. They're like out there with groups of people. You see their followers. This is BS. This is nuts. I didn't vote for Trump. This is crazy. You're seeing that everyone TikTok popping up homemade videos, 1-minute videos of people. It's thousands I've watched in the last couple of months. It's everywhere, and they're not going to be. They don't like it. They're really hoodwinked. They're not going. We already have the Spanish vote on the right moving over, and we're bringing the African Americans over, the ones that will want to wake up to these issues.
Is it doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. You want to have food on the table and get your kids a good education. You don't care about the other stuff.
Well, they do when they realize that, especially people that, I'm talking a lot of inner city people too. They know when law enforcement comes around, for them it ain't been good for a long time, huh? Right? And so they see what's happening to Trump. I'm watching those videos too. They're like, yeah, we know what that is. It's the police working against him like they do to us within the cities where they've lived for years watching police brutality or whatever went down. And so for them, there's a lot of people that want that. But at the same time, there's just an injustice that's going around, and people are really fed up with the injustice. They don't really care, like you said, of that. They just can't stand and stomach the injustice is put in their face 24/7 on breaking news. Trump. We did this, we did that. People are like, wait, enough. And so they want to think about, and this is all a distraction, so they don't look at the price of food or gas or whatever. But that's not going to work in September. It starts getting cold out. It's going to be
same
bad.
Thing happened in the Jewish community. Our wives beat us up. Not the cops, the people we married. But you got to get used to it. But you know what, Joe? We got to wrap this up. We're way over.
Are we running out of time?
Yeah.
I lost track.
What do you have coming up that people should be, looking for?
Well, we got something in Connecticut that I've been working with Leora Levy. Leora Levy, you can go look at her name up, Levy. She's running against Richard Blumenthal, Da Nang Dick, and she needs all the help she can get from outside of Connecticut. Money, help, donations when it's time to come on the ground. If you're in New York and want to work a campaign, Connecticut's a small state. We're going to be putting people up at houses and whatever. Her campaign is going to be a national campaign against Blumenthal. It's going to really show in the Constitution state who's who. And she's got the moxie, the message, and the money to put it through. So whether win, lose, or draw at the end of this thing, the Democrats are going to have to see on television ads across the Constitution state what she is. So Leora Levy, Leora, is her first name.
Go to her website, folks.
Yeah, please go to her website. If you can give her $5, fine. I don't know if we can do fundraising on the show, if you whatever, or sign up, whatever you want to do.
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, this is big. This is it. This is Connecticut, the Constitution state. Richard Blumenthal, we call him Skeletor, against Leora. And she's a Jewish mother. We got a
That's
Jewish
right.
mother going against Blumenthal. I can't wait for the debates.
Who's a Jewish crook? Thank you for coming on. And folks, if you want your daily shot of conservative news with a little bit of sarcasm, as you could see in this conversation, come to lidblog.com. And I thank you all for watching and listening. And next week, it'll probably be me and Mark again, unless I have to go back into the hospital. Thank you all.